Raina. It's wonderful to be here with you today. I'm here with Raina Moskowitz, who is COO and CMO of Etsy. I'm glad we're getting to chat with you today because you just had a very big campaign launch. You're focused on an entirely sort of new set of branding. Explain what exactly you're doing on that front.
So thanks so much for being here, for visiting us here at Etsy.
Literally the cutest headquarters we've ever been to.
It is very Etsy. We love it in here. So really highlighting some of our best merchandise. So this week we're so excited. We are announcing a few things that I think are really important for both our buyers, people who shop on Etsy, as well as our sellers. We have over 7 million sellers around the globe. And so what we're focused on right now is something that we've been hearing from buyers and sellers, which is they want to better understand what belongs on Etsy. So many people have started shopping on Etsy over the past several years. So many people have started selling. We want to make sure they understand our policies. And this is incredibly foundational. So our sellers want to understand what belongs on Etsy, what can they sell, how can they sell it, and then buyers, when they're shopping, what is the role that our seller had in the process? You know, people shop on Etsy because they want to support small businesses, because they want to buy from local artists, and so people want to understand what role did the seller have in making the item? Did they make it with their hands? Did they design it and then have a production partner produce it? Did they source it or hand pick it, like vintage as an example? And so the role that the seller plays is what's front and center in this launch. And so we're making sure the policies are clear. We're bringing it through the product experience. So we have 120 million items for sale on Etsy. And so when you're shopping and looking at the item, we want to make sure in the listing description it's very clear the role of the seller. And then we're going to celebrate it all with a really beautiful brand campaign that is a love letter to our sellers and really, again, highlights the beautiful craft, the workmanship, and all of the love that goes into making the items that they're selling on Etsy. And so we'll have a TV campaign. We will have billboards throughout New York City and London. But I'm particularly excited about the billboards that'll be in Soho, and as well as a social campaign featuring our actual sellers, many of whom are from New York.
For folks who maybe just know the name Etsy, know that it's a tech company, know the bare bones, how would you describe Etsy in a few sentences to them?
So Etsy is a global e-commerce marketplace. We have over 90 million buyers around the world who shop on Etsy. We have over 7 million sellers globally who create items that they sell on Etsy. And we have over 120 million listings on Etsy. So we are an incredibly global and incredibly diverse marketplace where we're the home for creativity and self-expression. So people who shop on Etsy are really looking for things that are unique, for things that you can't find elsewhere, and that they want to support small businesses. And we are headquartered in Brooklyn, New York, and we're really proud of that.
As we're sitting here, we've been hearing some beautiful New York sounds, like the subway rattling underneath. You've been in this building for a few years now, and of course Etsy was founded in Brooklyn. Walk us through sort of your history here and all the real estate you also have.
Sure. So Etsy was founded in Brooklyn, as you noted, in 2005, and we've been here ever since, in Dumbo in particular. So we've been in this building. We have 9 floors.
It was hot, right? Like, I feel like Dumbo's gotten
really hot. We've been here early. We've been here early, and we have 9 floors, hundreds of employees who come here, and it's a really stunning building. Every detail is incredibly thoughtful. We've been here about 8 years, and every detail in the building, from what you see on the walls, all the furniture in every office, it's all made by local artisans or Etsy sellers. Even our food programming is all about celebrating the diversity and the culture in Brooklyn and in New York. And so everything we feature, it features local artisans and local chefs, as an example. So we love being here. We don't mind the sounds. We're very accustomed to honking and subways going by in the middle of a meeting. It's no big deal. It adds to the fun. It adds to the creativity and the inspiration that the team gets.
It's an authentic New York experience.
It sure is. We're so happy to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. And then, I mean, you signed a really big lease, a lot of space at a time, it seems like, when a lot of tech companies are wanting everyone to work from home, save money on real estate. And it seems like you're really all in with this building.
We're all in. Brooklyn, we were founded here. Brooklyn is where we're headquartered. We're really proud of it. We're proud to be one of the largest public companies in Brooklyn, and we think it really differentiates us. It allows us to attract the best talent, diverse talent. People want to work and live in New York and Brooklyn in particular. I live here, I love it here, and we thought it was really important to stay grounded during the pandemic. And we offer a ton of flexibility to our team. We have many remote employees, and we have employees in Dublin and Mexico City as well, but New York is our headquarter, and we're really proud to be part of the creative scene here, and think it actually adds to what makes Etsy so successful.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting too, because I think you're a tech company, but you're also very focused on supporting local creators and people who are creating things with their hands, which is so interesting. So how are you thinking about your role sort of in this ecosystem, but also unlike other tech companies, you're not just writing an algorithm, you're actually creating a physical product? Yeah,
so our sellers are creating gorgeous physical products for sale or digital download. So many of our sellers actually design things that you can download and print, like wall art or wedding invitations as an example. So there's a wide range of creativity across our sellers, and so we want to make sure that buyers understand the role that the sellers played, and that's really important. And we get that information from our sellers. And as a tech company, we're always innovating. We're always trying to evolve our product. We're a platform, and we need to make sure that our sellers' inventory shows up in the best way possible. So a lot of the work that the team does is making sure that sellers are able to easily list their items, to give us the attributes about how they've made their items, so that we can surface it up in the best way to buyers who are shopping, to make it easy to find what you're looking for on Etsy, and really elevating the best of Etsy, the items that are of the highest quality, the sellers who provide great service. And so our role as a company is to find those best matches.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, obviously. Every single commerce site, whether it's Amazon or whatever, there are challenges in terms of how you preference searches. And I know there's been frustration with certain creators that they feel maybe they're not getting the results they should, or that they're competing with AI or other creators who aren't actually making things by hand. So how do you think this is going to address that issue?
A big part of what we're focused on is making sure our sellers have the transparency and the agency over their shops to grow their business. And so part of this launch is to give more insight, more actionable insight to sellers for how to set up their listing, ensure that the photo quality is really high so that buyers have confidence when they're shopping on Etsy, as an example. And so we want to give them a number of ways that they can set their shop up for success, because we do want our sellers to be able to stand out, particularly sellers who are looking to grow their business. We want to make it easy and give them the tools and insights to grow their business on the platform. We've also worked really, really hard over the past few years to ensure that things that don't meet our policy are no longer on the site. And so we think that's an important foundational element of this as well.
Okay, interesting. And Etsy's been around for a couple decades now, almost, and it really saw a lot of growth during the pandemic. So where are you now compared to where you were during the pandemic? How are you thinking of capitalizing on so much of the interest that it seems like was created during that time when people were just stuck at home?
Yeah, so the pandemic was, such an interesting time for Etsy. As with many e-commerce companies, you couldn't go anywhere else, so you had to shop online. And when shopping online, Etsy really stood out. First and foremost, we were one of the only places where you could find a mask in the earliest days of the pandemic. Our sellers took, whatever fabric they had on hand and started turning them into masks, which was an incredible moment for our sellers who really met the need of the moment. And then from there, people were introduced to Etsy, and people wanted to see what else we had to offer. And so from there, we were over double what we were before the pandemic in terms of size and scale. And so the work we're doing now is to continue to help buyers understand what you could find on Etsy, to help sellers understand what you can sell. And so many new sellers came to Etsy during this period as well. It was a time of uncertainty, but Etsy was a platform where if you had, creativity and skill, you were able to open a shop and earn extra income during this period as well. So that was very meaningful. And so now we are working to build trust in the platform, making sure that we're elevating the best inventory. The number of listings on Etsy doubled during this period as well. So we just faced so much growth. And now we're working to really reestablish what we stand for, to make sure we've got trust in the marketplace, and to elevate the very best inventory on Etsy.
Interesting. And I mean, it's such an interesting time too in e-commerce where it's like people can order things from China for 99 cents and you can get things that are so cheap, so much fast fashion, and yet at the same time it does seem like a lot more people are mission oriented and they want to buy products that they feel align with their values, whether that's more environmental or supporting local business. Are you seeing an increase in the number of people who are focused on that, or how are you thinking about that landscape?
So it's exactly right. So when you look across the e-commerce landscape in particular, you see everyone competing on the lowest prices, the fastest shipping, and that certainly serves a purpose for some items in your life. You need a pair of socks, you need some tissues, I get it, there's a role for that.
Don't want to get handmade tissues, probably.
So that's important, but the more people experience these mass-produced, commoditized shopping experiences, the more people are going to crave something different, and that's the role that Etsy plays. Our sellers' unique items is what differentiates us from the rest of e-commerce, and so we are really doubling down on the focus on creativity, on original goods, and we do see consumers, particularly younger consumers, that's what they're looking for and craving. And so yes, those other players, there's space and there's a role for them, but Etsy stands for something different, and we're really looking to further differentiate as opposed to, moving in that direction.
Yeah, and I mean, you've already navigated, opening in 2005, a lot of changes in the internet landscape. Where do you see e-commerce going in the next few years, and how do you imagine your role?
Yeah, so of course everyone's focused on AI right now, and it's a really important topic. And so as a tech company with really a talented team, we're of course experimenting and finding ways to leverage AI throughout how we operate, as well as the customer experience. And I think Etsy is really going to benefit from the use of AI as a company. And so we're experimenting in a lot of ways. Our engineers are leveraging AI to be more productive, as an example. Our customer service agents using tools to provide even better support to more customers. And in the product experience, we think there's a role to innovate here as well. So right now you come to Etsy and you search for an item, and imagine with generative AI and more conversational search, imagine being able to provide a bit more detail so that we can find you an even more special item. So we think there's a lot of ways to innovate, and we are certainly working with all the cutting edge models to make sure that we can benefit our sellers in the right ways. And we also recognize our sellers are using new tools as well. So, the tools that artists have are evolving too. And so we want to recognize that the tools our sellers use to produce their creative goods are evolving as well. And so I think that there's going to be great advances across e-commerce, and our team is innovating to find, how to leverage AI in the right way. And the real magic is when our team leverages models to elevate the best of Etsy. Our merchandising team, who is so talented finding and sourcing the best items from around the world, they are constantly training our models actually to help our models find the best things that are going to really resonate with buyers. So we think there's a lot of opportunity here across the Etsy community.
There's so much chatter too about artificial taking over everyone's jobs, and now AI is creating movies, art. Do you think AI is going to be taking over a portion of some of the art that's created on Etsy?
We do see AI art being created on Etsy, and that's a great example where we think there's still an important role of artistry. We think that our sellers, contribute to that. It's they imagine the art. They help to design and influence the art, but AI is really just a tool to produce it. And so we want to recognize that that this is a new form of art. We'll continue to monitor. We want to make sure it resonates with consumers, but again, we want to recognize the evolution that artists are feeling as well.
Yeah. One criticism too of Etsy is that it's really difficult to prioritize a stock price as a public company while also prioritizing your sellers and buyers and local community. How do you think about that issue, and how do you want to navigate that going forward?
Yeah. Our sellers are the heart of our marketplace. I think if you ask anyone who works at Etsy, they work at Etsy because of our mission, which is to keep commerce human, and because they want to support our sellers and small businesses. And so that's really important to the work that we do. And I don't view it as a trade-off at all. In fact, when our sellers succeed, we succeed. So all of the work we do is to help improve the marketplace, to drive more sales to our sellers. And so that's the heart of it. And I don't view that as a trade-off that we have to make.
Etsy is really the only tech company that is focused on local craftsmanship. It's just interesting, you're competing against Amazon. How do you as a tech company see your role in this landscape? Do you see yourself as sort of one of the only companies that's offering the ability to access local creators, or how are you thinking about what your mission is?
So Etsy's mission is to keep commerce human. We have over 7 million sellers around the globe. And so I think we do something that is incredibly unique, which is if you're shopping for something, you can access the best goods from around the world. So I recently bought a gorgeous bag, hand-woven bag from a seller in Turkey. I would never be able to access that for the value that I was able to buy it for, and on any other platform. And in fact, I wore the bag to a party. I got so many compliments. I felt so proud that I purchased it from this seller, and she actually sent me a note afterwards. And she said, "I just want you to know that you were the first person to buy from my shop."
Oh, wow.
And that was really powerful. So not only did I love the item, but the seller told me what an important part of her life this was. And so I don't think that's an experience that can be easily replicated. At the same time, so many people want to shop and support artists in their local community. And we make it easy for you to shop and filter and find people in the US or in your own community in New York. We have over 150,000 sellers in New York State, of which a third are in New York City. So if you want to shop locally, you can absolutely do that. And so I think we are one of the only places where you can shop globally, and we try to make that easy for our sellers and also support local artists. And I think we do that incredibly well, and it's really differentiated from other ways that you can shop.
And so you think there's a lot of vibrance, a lot of activity in New York, and New York City specifically?
We were founded in Brooklyn in 2005, and we are here to stay. We think it's a really important part of our culture, of our company. There is so much creativity, so much talent in New York, and so we're really proud to be headquartered in Brooklyn. And every part of the office experience here is really focused on the local community. Everything from our food programming to the furniture in the building, it's all really thoughtfully designed, combining the local community and our local artisans as well.
Interesting. And what do you think is the best part of being here as opposed to another city in the US?
Well, we see that so many people want to live and work in New York.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to attract top talent who want to be here. We're able to attract diverse talent and really creative talent. So we think New York has just been a great place to double down, and we're just excited about all that New York has to offer and really infuse that creativity into all the work that we do here.
Yeah. You also are maybe one of the only people I've ever met who's both COO and CMO, right? So one's an operations role, the other's all about marketing and branding, which we've been chatting quite a bit about. Are those sort of integrated? or disparate, or how do you do both jobs?
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of work.
So we're so excited about bringing the operations elements of Etsy together with marketing. It's really going to help us build an even more consistent end-to-end experience for people shopping on Etsy or people selling on Etsy. And so a great example of this is with this campaign. We are featuring these sellers. We're featuring their work. We're featuring them in their studios. And we want to make sure that when you shop on Etsy, you're able to find those sellers, you're able to find their shops. And so as an example, our homepage is going to be updated to reflect the marketing campaign. And so this is just a great opportunity, again, to connect the dots throughout like what you see on a billboard in Soho as an example. And then when you come on Etsy or in our app to shop, we want to make it really seamless and easy to find these sellers that we highlight, to find their gorgeous items. And so again, we're going to have so many opportunities as one team to really bring consistency to the experience and all of the shopping journey to make it seamless for people to shop.
So you came on as CEO, and that's a big pivot too, to go from marketing at American Express now to being COO at Etsy. You worked in that role for a few years, and then you've just recently taken on the job of CMO as well. How did all of that happen?
Yeah.
And then what made you decide to, take on this challenge as well, and what kind of knowledge do you think you bring to the CMO role now that you've been at Etsy running operations for a few years?
So I've been at Etsy over 6 years now, and I've led a number of different teams and functions at the company. And the opportunity now bringing operations and marketing together is again to have that consistent end-to-end experience. So I've led almost every element of Etsy that makes it really important when we're trying to build brand consideration. We want people to say not just, oh, I love Etsy, but I love shopping on Etsy. So that means you've got to be a trusted brand. That means we've got to build and deepen loyalty with our customers. And that's something that I certainly learned in my time at American Express, who's all about membership and incredible customer service as well. That's why many people, value that brand. And so I've been able to pull a lot of those elements here to the Etsy experience, building trust and loyalty with our consumers. And so excited to really deepen relationships with our customers as well. I think that's so important when I look ahead. Mm-hmm. We have 90 million people who shop on Etsy. There are so many moments where, particularly if you're looking for a gift, where Etsy is like the best place to find something special. And so we think there's a real opportunity to get people to shop on Etsy even more often. And so really thinking about how do we make sure that we are there for our customers? How do we make sure that we are serving up the trending items, the most unique items, and the best gifts on Etsy? And so we are excited to deepen the relationship and have people shopping on Etsy even more often throughout the year.
Yeah, interesting. No, that makes a lot of sense. And you came on board, you've seen a lot with Etsy. I mean, it grew so much during the pandemic. It seems like pre-pandemic, I don't know if it's a trend where people go from being more interested to less interested in supporting local artists and craftsmen. But it seems like stock price was down a little bit. You came in, and what was the biggest challenge when you came in as COO? So
the first few years, we were really focused on building a high-performing team. We wanted to make sure that people understood where we were going, how we're measuring success, and what are the things that we must do to improve the experience on Etsy to have customers come and shop on Etsy over and over again. And so it was really about internal operations was a lot of my focus. I then focused on operations overall, bringing elements like payments or fulfillment and shipping together with customer support to really create that end-to-end trusted experience for shoppers. And that was incredibly important as we scaled. And also as we expand globally, it's so important that we're able to accept payments in local currency as an example. And so that's a signal of trust. And today, it's about taking that foundation that we've built, taking all the work that we've done to really create an incredible shopping experience and telling the world about it. So many people, when I say I work at Etsy, they're like, oh, I love Etsy. But have they thought about shopping on Etsy for the next thing on their list? And so we have this opportunity ahead of us to make sure that people start their shopping journeys on Etsy so that they don't just love us, but they want to start shopping with us, whether it's because they want to shop from a small business or because we have the most unique items that you can't find everywhere else. And that's what really differentiates us, is our sellers' unique items. And that's what this brand mission work is about, to really double down on what differentiates us, not what every other e-commerce player is focused on right now.
We're very excited to be in this space because I understand that no one has ever gotten a look inside here before. Tell us about this fabulous closet.
Yeah, so welcome. This really is an exclusive access sneak peek. No one has ever been back here. I'm barely allowed back here. So this is Etsy's merch closet. This is where the team keeps all of the items that we feature in our marketing, that we feature in all of our social campaigns.
The cutest little candles.
So cute. Everything that's trended, that's made by our sellers, that we feature. So it's really fun to have you back here.
This is a very familiar looking cowboy hat. I've seen Beyonce wearing it. Understand she got it on Etsy. Is she finding her stuff on Etsy? Is she getting inspired by all the other creators she sees?
So many celebrities are inspired and shop on Etsy, and we were so excited to see the news that she had purchased that hat on Etsy. We were so excited. It's such an incredible moment for the team and for the seller. The seller's based in Philadelphia, and she saw a ton of demand fueled by Beyonce, so we were excited to see that news.
I'm sure she's very busy after Beyonce is seen wearing her hat.
Definitely.
Other big collaborations that you worked on or that you are working on now that you can share with us?
So Drew Barrymore is Etsy's Chief Gifting Officer. She joined earlier this year, and she has been a dream to collaborate with. She truly loves Etsy, loves supporting small business. She has so many ideas, and she's created so much content for us and all these gift guides. So you can follow Drew, shop her best gift suggestions, and she's just been a lot of fun to partner with. Casey Musgraves as well. She designed exclusive charms for us, as well as a collection, and so more to come with both of them this year and some other collaborations later in the year.
Oh, interesting. And could you see another designer maybe who normally sells on their own website starting to distribute things on Etsy?
Absolutely. So we have a program each year that I am so inspired by. It's our Etsy Design Awards. And so it's a way to celebrate the best of Etsy, the most creative, the most beautiful goods in a number of categories. And one category is going to celebrate an emerging designer. So we really want Etsy to continue to be the place where emerging artists and designers start their creative businesses. And so programs like the Etsy Design Awards, as an example, are a great way to get noticed, get featured, and to really build a following.
That's a wrap on today's episode of NYNext. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also catch us on the New York Post YouTube channel. And of course, be sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates and behind-the-scenes content. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. Join the conversation and let us know what you think.